So this is going to be my review of the OEX Phoxx 2 V2. Now, straight off the bat, this is a perfect starter tent. I picked this up in Go Outdoors on the Black Friday event. I think it came in around just under £70. Now, I didn't initially go there for this tent, but I did want OEX. And when I looked at all the tents on display, the two tents that I thought as a one-person hiker or wild camper that you could transport easily would have been the Bobcat or the Phoxx 2 V2. And for the very small size difference, once packed away, for me it just made sense to go for the bigger tent. Now, I've used this tent 3 times, and so far I'm actually really impressed. So I've decided to do a review of the tent and show you guys what you're getting before you go out and buy it. Okay, so as you can see, the tent packs up very small, not that much bigger than the Bobcat, and comes in at around 2 kilo. So it's not an ultralight tent, but it's definitely one of the lightest for the space that you're going to get. Let's unpack it and have a little look at what you're going to get in the bag. Firstly, it's a very spacious bag, loads of room, and once you unpack it and repack it, you'll pack it a lot smaller than what it actually comes packed in the shop. So once you've unpacked your tent, you're going to have your ripstock waterproof oversized tent bag. Obviously the tent itself, I think on the first outing I lost a little bit of green ribbon that ties it up, so I've just popped a bit of paracord around it. You've got your tent poles, 2 of, and it comes with 18 really well made tent pegs. So let's show you each of these now. So the tent pegs, let's start with these. Extremely lightweight but very, very sturdy. I've put these through the mill already using the back of an axe to hammer these into the ground, and you get 18 of these. Next, you've got your tent poles. 2 of the larger one will have a gold bend and the smaller one will have a silver bend going around like so. And obviously the tent itself. So let's get it set up, show you guys how to set it up and what it's like inside. Okay, so first things first, let's roll her out and open her up. Okay, one thing you will note about the tent is the newer version of this tent will come with the fly attached. They've made some modifications from the first version and listen to the feedback that people gave, which is really good news. So just down here you can see the modification where they've actually included these straps so the fly can be tied direct to the inner. And obviously we can see the larger end, your head end, moving down to the foot end. So first things first, let's peg out the 4 corners of the inner. Okay, once you've got the 4 corners of the inner pegged out, we're then going to put our poles through. So the smaller pole with the silver bends on it goes through your foot end, and we can slide this straight through, he says, with the fly attached. Now, I'll show you in a sec, but you have these little gold clips. Here you can see these little clips. Just pop one end of the pole in the non-adjustable side and then go over to the other side, and here you can see this is adjustable. Slacken this right off so it's easy to get the pole in. Once the pole's in, push it through, make sure it's nice and even, and then tighten it up. And then do exactly the same with the larger pole, the one with the gold bends. The poles have an elastic running through them, so they're super easy to clip together, and then just thread that through the inner here. Get that pole in. Now you can see I've pushed the pole through too far, so I'm going to come to this side and then push it here to get my tension. Like I said, make sure that this one is slackened right off. This is what I do. You see how easy it is, get that mud off, how easy it is to get that pole in. Then what I do is take the tension manually and tighten that up. Now once you've done that, you've got these little clips, so you can just pop them on, nice and easy, on both sides. Nice and easy if you're not doing it with one hand. And there we go. So now guys, this isn't rocket science, but we are going to peg out the fly. Try to make sure the seam is where your pole is. You can always go around and tighten them afterwards. Grab a couple. Now that's looking a little bit high off the ground. Obviously, you can get that closer to the ground. Come to the other side, same thing applies. Try and get the seam. Try to get your seam on the pole. Pull that out. On the fixings where you popped your pole, you can see you've got a little buckle here. Just pop that buckle in there. Once that's buckled up, make sure the tension's good. And then do the same on the other side just there. Now that both my little buckles are done up, I'm going to peg out the sides. Now this is a double door, so you do have a door either side, which is great if you've decided to set up and you want a different view in the morning. Lovely. And then you've got two air vents. This one, bit of Velcro pull up. And then if you can see that little Velcro sticky up thing, pop that up and that will hold that vent open. On the other side, this vent has two guidelines. So for demonstration purposes, I'll pop out the guidelines now to show you what these look like. Okay, so she's all set up. Let me show you the tensioners. Here we are. So these little tensioners are fantastic. Little alley rings, super simple, but work great. So you can really pull down, get some tautness on the tent and just slide them up. So let's open her up and have a little look inside. You've got the Velcro here that is really making sure that zip's got a nice waterproof overlap. And once the door is rolled up, you have two buckles here, one here and one down here, so you can keep that door out the way. Now there's a double zip on the bottom with a small piece of fabric down here. Some people complain about that. However, for me, it doesn't really make much of a difference. Let's open her up. And then I'll roll up the door to keep that out the way also. So let's have a little look inside the tent. As you can see, you've got some double pockets at the back there, and by the head end, all of this top section here is vented. You can see the outer vent there on the fly. I did sleep in this last night, and that's not me having an accident. I actually cleaned the tent this morning. Clearly I didn't let it dry enough. However, looking down the bottom there, you can see the foot end mesh, the room inside the tent. So this is me inside, trying to leave my boots out. And firstly, I'll show you the sitting room. If you do want to sit, I'm 5'11". There is only one place where my head is kind of not touching, and it's there, and then I can't see out. And annoyingly, the hook is right there for the lamp. So if you want to sit up in the middle of the night, I continually bash my head. I need a smaller inner lamp for the tent. Let's bring you actually inside so you can have a look. Okay, so now I'm fully inside the tent laying down, and you can see my feet are just off of that end inner and laying down like so. Plenty of headroom, not touching the inner. I'm 5'11", and loads of room to the side of me to put your gear there. Now let me show you the vestibules. So I think it makes sense to show you these with the tent shut. You don't have the biggest amount of space. However, you've got enough to tuck your boots down to the side there, maybe your cooking gear. And don't forget, you've got the same vestibule on the other side. Now, I'm a bit of a believer that if you're going to do it, let's do it properly. I have got a little bit of a hack for this tent. I'm going to show you what it looks like with a tarp over it now, and how you can get that extra outdoor space, protect you from the weather, and also be able to pack the tent away in the morning if it's rained and it will still be dry. Okay, so here I have a DD tarp, 3.5 by 3.5 meters. It's a tarp that I use a lot for hammock camping and popping up a general shelter if I need one when I'm out and about. It packs up to less than an A4 size piece of paper, about 2 inches thickness. It isn't a super light one, but I'm a big fan of DD tarps. Let's pop it over the tent now, and I'll show you the setup I used last night just to have that extra area. So nice and easy, I'm just going to peg out the back corners of the tarp. Luckily, OEX give you more pegs than you need, so good for doing something like this. All right, that's one corner pegged. I might peg the middle as well, actually. Two corners and middle pegged. Now, I've got some trekking poles. I'm going to use these, so if you're somewhere where you don't have trees, but you have got some trekking poles, or you can cut the odd branch, you're good to go. I'm going to set these to maximum height just for display purposes. Good to go. Maximum height trekking poles. Going to need some paracord. So I'd imagine most people will be carrying around some paracord in their bag. I'm just going to pop the trekking pole through here like so. I'm literally just going to put a loop in the end of the paracord and just peg that down to the ground. Nice, easy, simple stuff. Let's do the other end. Now, I only got two trekking poles. However, as if by magic, the stick I used last night. So I'm just going to peg up this last corner. So for this one, I'm just going to tie it to the corner. Very simple, no crazy knots needed. So now, as I'm sure you can see, this tent, it's a different ball game in here. Massive, massive area that is sheltered from the wind, the rain, any of the elements, as is the tent itself. So let's take you for a little look. There is the OEX Phoxx 2 V2. Clearly I can tighten these corners and tidy up this tarp a little bit. And as you can see, DD hammocks, DD tarp, 3.5 by 3.5, large footprint. But if you're out for a couple of nights, having this extra room outside, like I had last night, is absolutely brilliant. So this is the OEX Phoxx 2 version 2, where you can keep the outer and the inner together. You can erect the tent as is with the outer attached. For me, this is a fantastic tent for anyone that wants to start out camping, wild camping, especially on their own, or with someone you're very familiar with and can be comfortable in a tent with. And I honestly think it's an incredible price. For under £70, I think I paid £69 for this in Go Outdoors. The colour is great for wild camping. It's really stealthy. No one's going to know you're out there as long as you choose the right location. At the 3 times I've camped, twice were raining, quite heavy. Not a drop, absolutely dry. Really, really good night's sleep. And last night sleeping in it, in the location where I am, it's actually 3 degrees cooler than anywhere else in the UK. So it did get down to 2 degrees last night. Now, I'm not saying it's a 4-season tent. What I am saying is there's not too much mesh. You can get that outer down to the ground. And for me, with the right sleeping system, last night, not far off of freezing, I was super comfortable. So if you've got an OEX tent, let me know below which OEX that you've got, or if you disagree with anything I've said, more than open to feedback. I'm aware that the Bobcat is actually one of the biggest selling OEX tents. It's super popular at the minute, very, very lightweight, very compact and small. However, for me, the Phoxx 2 just ticked a couple more boxes. And thanks for watching.